Good evening, everyone. I hope you all are having a wonderful night. And I hope you'll enjoy this next story that I've written for you. It's 2049. I found a disturbing journal from 2023. It was early May, and we were already reaching near record hot temperatures in the inland northwest. I'm talking low 90s every day. July and August, our warmest and driest months, are yet to come. This was a scary thought, as wildfires have progressively been getting worse. Fire season has become longer and more destructive than ever. Last year alone, Oregon and California lost major acreage to wildfires, not to mention Montana and Idaho as well. This year, Canada is already burning up, and it's only early May, with over 100 forest fires that are burning consistently as I write this. I volunteered a few years back to fight a huge fire that was in Oregon called the Bootleg Fire, where many homes and beautiful acreage was destroyed, and a few of us firefighters almost lost our lives. I myself and a few close friends are already preparing for the worst and are ready to help again in any way that we can. Just as we were working through our plan of attack for certain areas more prone to fires, the news that evening had displayed a frightening scene. This was no human creating fires this time, because just today alone, over 100 fires have been started scattered throughout California, Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. The cause was explosions, like giant propane tanks exploding out in the middle of national forests where nobody lives. The damnest thing is some were caught on camera by people camping or exploring in the woods that were taking videos. Out of nowhere, one terrified hiker said, he heard a giant explosion type noise that caused him to lose hearing momentarily. He then saw a giant fireball erupt above the trees a few hundred yards ahead of where he was hiking. He sensed the danger and immediately ran as fast as his feet would carry him to safety, later on finding out that if he would have continued hiking, the fire would have blocked his path and taken his life. So far, of the 100 fires that have been identified, at least 80 of them are already burning out of control, wiping out record numbers of U.S. forest land. What's even more terrifying is someone actually seen the creature that was starting the fires. He told reporters that it was huge, about 12 to 15 feet tall at least. Black in color with no facial features at all, but that was only in one form. But what really baffles him was he seen that thing actually change form into some demonic-looking entity, he stated, with huge black horns and red skin. It moved so quickly, he stated, that he only caught a glimpse of it for a few seconds before it vanished. Then it must have reappeared several miles away on another mountaintop within view, as he had seen another fireball erupt off in the horizon. It was pure evil, the witness said. It's bad enough that other people are usually the major cause of the majority of wildfires, but now some terrible creature from hell is wreaking havoc, starting massive fires at will. And so quickly the firefighters have no time to react to get started extinguishing one before another. Massive blaze is created on the other side of them, then trapping them in between the two, making it near impossible for the firefighters to escape. They are then only left with one choice, the choice to fight what they can of the blaze to their death, or try to outrun the blaze to regroup and create a safe zone to fight from. 1 week has now passed, and the thing that created all these fires has now amassed over 300 home and life-threatening wildfires. There seems to be no end to them in sight, unless we can rid of the cause, one fire chief from Washington State had said. We just don't have the manpower to contain any of these blazes. With every firefighter, close to in the states being called in for support, we're at a limit on bodies and resources. It seems the thing isn't only causing the fires, but creating them to trap and burn people alive. It is strategically causing them, then lying in wait for our men to attack the blaze, then causing another 1 or 2 huge fires that entrap them in between each other, with no hope of escape. With only 1 week gone by, already 2,000 firefighters have already been accounted for that have been burned alive, not to mention many others yet to be discovered. The Air Force and the Army have now been involved in the capture of this creature thing to put a stop to this, but so far have had no success. Everyone is working around the clock. Fighter jets, tanks, warbirds, and Blackhawks are scanning the whole western part of the states constantly, but have yet to have gotten a visual of the thing. It's almost as if it is traveling between dimensions so rapidly that it appears and causes havoc, then vanishes before anyone can even catch a glimpse of the being. That's what one news reporter stated. It's almost as if the end of times is here, as this is the thing responsible for it. We're all done for. It has been 10 days now, and so many fires have been started that everyone in the whole northern United States has been evacuated, and the whole country is in panic. People are running around everywhere. They're starting to buy out stores. They're moving to shelters. It's just all out calamity. Lives are being lost at an alarming rate as people don't even have time to escape. Even Canada and Mexico have started to lend a hand to help in the aid of the fires, but it's to no avail. 3 weeks have now gone by, and finally, there has not been any new fires as of late. Although most of all the 5 states that I had mentioned have been burned to almost nothing. The death toll has now reached an alarming 20,000 plus that have all been accounted for. The last update I heard was that only 30% of the fires were 50% contained. The rest still had zero containment in sight. Most all the people have now flocked to the Midwest and Eastern United States, having to start all over in a whole different part of the country. Air support has came from around the world to help the aid in these fires. But just as soon as we had thought we had this kind of under control, disaster struck once again. The same kind of explosions were occurring now in forests throughout the world. Whatever the hell that was behind all of this would put Satan himself to shame. It's turning into hell on earth. Smoke has now filled the skies so bad that we have not had any sunlight for the past 5 days, and it's just progressively getting worse. The people are now scrambling everywhere as inflation has skyrocketed. As for the demand of goods is off the charts. All the businesses are closing as well. People are advised to stay home and try their best to filter the smoke out of their homes. Hospitals are filled beyond capacity and nobody has no answers. The worldwide search for this creature has failed miserably, and all people are starting to lose hope. Everybody's starting to believe that this is truly the end of humanity. We'll fast forward now to 6 months later. I've been following the news close, and our family is now on the verge of evacuation to our hideout shelter ourselves. The earth has been at least 60% charred. It was at least wintertime now, so most all the fires are either now contained or under control, but the loss of life is horrifying. The whole world's population has dropped over 20%, and that isn't the worst of it. The earth all of a sudden started shaking more violently than ever before. At first I thought it was just a world record earthquake, but then the earth's surface started opening up, ripping, tearing as it was shaking, with scorching heat rising from this large crevice. If that wasn't bad enough, some weird form of creatures that were all pale white with huge red eyes. They didn't have any nose, huge mouths, long black claws, all hunched over bodies, started crawling from the crevice from the earth. Without hesitation, they attacked with a thirst for blood. These creatures would crawl on all fours, attacking victims with ease as they could run at least 30 miles an hour. Then the screams began, as hundreds of people running for their lives were ran down and became quick meals to these creatures. These creatures were very smart, going directly for the vital spots with their attacks, and it was quickly becoming a bloodbath. Men, women, and children started to gather what weapons they had, but that was slim to none, as the government had taken most gun rights away from all the mass shootings that had been going on. The people fought back valiantly, but the weak had all died out fairly quick. These creatures were still coming in hordes from underground by the tens of thousands. The earth quickly became painted red as if World War III kicked off, but it wasn't against other people, but these otherworldly creatures from hell. The majority of the rich had made an escape to islands way out in the middle of the ocean, but for the rest of the lower middle class, it was quickly over. The military was involved, all right, and things kind of started to even out, but these creatures just would not die. Several shots, and they would still make their way at you, almost like an undead, but much faster and smarter. The world leaders at this time now had little choice but to launch the nukes all throughout the country. The news was making its final broadcast, as only the rich and powerful would have an escape to restore mankind. Imagine that. The rest of us were just going to be, considered casualties of war, I guess. The main big red creature now emerged behind the news reporter from the center of the earth, the Firestarter, the shape-shifting evil monster from hell that had caused all of this. No longer hiding out or showing any signs of vanishing again on the news broadcast, it was recorded, and the damn thing spoke. It was speaking in Latin, saying, which in Latin means this is the end of humanity. It was the most horrifying looking creature. Most say it was Satan himself returning to take over. This was the last thing that I had watched on the news before I left with my family to our underground safe house. I'm writing this now as I joined my family in the underground safe house. I'm pretty sure we won't survive the aftermath of the bombs, as our food and water is on the verge of running out. And whatever the hell that thing was, whether it was Satan or not, I'm actually no longer afraid to die after seeing that, because I certainly wouldn't wish being killed by that thing on anyone. I cannot describe the evil presence surrounding it. I stood in horror and awe, like I was in some kind of a trance, just trying to make out exactly what the hell it even was. Much worse than any scary movie monster that was ever created that I've seen. I'll let you picture that in your head and let me know what you come up with. If humanity somehow prevails and makes it out of this, I hope my journal gets found so people in the future can learn how the human race has went extinct. This will be my last log, as we all have made up our minds to take a sedative so we can all go out on our own terms together. It has been an hour since we have ingested this poison, and it's starting to kick in very strong now. My eyes are heavy, and goodbye.